your questions through the chat. That has proven to be the most effective way. And please note that the event is recorded. It's for internal use only, will not be shared with third parties, not be published online, and by participating you consent to the recording. With all that said, I would like to give the floor to Mr. Thomas Narbeshuber, Managing Director of BASF Hungary and lead of the AmCham EU Green Deal Working Group. Thomas will be the professional moderator and our host for today. Thomas, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Peter. As always, very professional introduction. Warm welcome from my side also to you, State Secretary Feldman and Anja Klatt. Warmly welcome to our event, of course. Agriculture is a very, very important, let me call it, industrial sector in Hungary. And that's why the implications which are brought by the Green Deal and our endeavors towards a sustainable future need to be thoroughly discussed. And for that, we have two very pronounced experts today who will share, first of all, with Zsolt Feldman, the Hungarian narrative for what is going to happen, what shall happen, and then from an industrial perspective, we have Anja Klatt, who is also very active in the Brussels arena. We will have afterwards the chance to listen to Orsolya Ludvig from HEINEKEN and to Gábor Berkes from Cargill to see their views. And I would now like to ask you, Dr. Feldman, to share your views on the Green Deal and the way Hungary's way to sustainability in the future.
Thank you. I hope that you can hear me. So great.
Very well.
First of all, good afternoon for everybody, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to take part on your online meeting and discuss this very interesting issue. Well, which may be in from agricultural side, one of the most interesting and the hottest topic nowadays. Well, we are in lots of debate, and we have lots of political and technical discussion about the implementation of Green Deal, the implementation, the farm to fork and the biodiversity strategy based on this Green Deal program. Well, when we are talking about the farm to fork, we know from our side that it's the heart, a key element of the European Union's Green Deal project, and the part of that how we can make a climate neutral continent by 2050 in Europe. So it's not a question that our common goal is to make a sustainable economical and environmental aspects from a sustainable continent and the economy. And the question is the transformation's way and how we can reach and how we can achieve different goals. And when we are talking about the food production, the agriculture, and see or processes or systems or entrepreneurs and the farmers aspects, maybe all stakeholders can see that it's a very sensitive, very hot questions comes from these strategies because of the closely links between the profitability of the sector and the different kind of hoped requirements comes from the Green Deal side. So the main question that how we can make a balance between the economical, the social and the environmental aspects of sustainability. Well, and because it's not a question from agricultural side that reduce reverse the loss of biodiversity, to help to mitigate the climate change. It's very important. Other side, we have to ensure the food security for all people in the continent. So that's the questions, and the question is that this kind of huge efforts which are made by all stakeholders in the governmental, economical side of Europe, that how we can make an acceptable way to achieve these goals. So, because our starting position, in general, when we are talking about this environmental aspects of sustainability, is that or stakeholders, or farmers, or entrepreneurs are part of the rural areas. It's a sensitive part of the rural economy, and the other side, there is a very closely linking between the rural areas economic aspects and possibilities and the agricultural productions possibilities. And we are always say one important aspect, that the agriculture in general, not just one of the background pollution and the economical sector which have impact on the climate change, but these sector is the economical sectors which are hit mostly the climate change. So, or entrepreneurs or farmers suffer from the climate change, and that's why always we try to make such a way in the fight against climate change, which is in line with our goals in food security in the European continent. So, and one more basic principle from our side, that in our view, encourage our farmers is a better way and then working way compare with the punishment the farmers. So a very basic principle that we have to encourage farmers to be more sustainable and not punish them. Maybe I have to underline this very basic principle. And maybe you know, but I just would like to make a short list about that. What is the concrete measures? What is the concrete targets when we are talking about the farm to fork? And maybe you know that there is the question is that the pesticides using, so the reduction of this with 50%, the 20% reduction of the fertilizers, and 50% of reduction in sales of antimicrobials used for farmers, farmed animals and aquaculture. And on the other side, there is the goal to increase the level of and the proportion of the organic farmed areas with 25%. So there are some very beautiful, very ambitious targets. And what is in our mind when we are talking about these targets? Well, where we are talking about the pesticides issues, the fertilizers issues, firstly, we think that we have to be cautious because there are some crucial harmful consequences, and we have to avoid these harmful consequences when we are talking about some invasive pests or expansion of some non-authorized techniques. So that's one of our main goal, that maybe using in widespread way the so-called integrated pest management would be more useful compared with the just the simple reduce the pesticides level. And the other side, as I mentioned earlier, we have to avoid to lose quality quantities in our agricultural production, and we have to maintain and ensure the food security, as I earlier mentioned. So we consider very important to the promotion in safe and effective low-risk pesticides. Maybe it's a more smart solution. And of course, for example, in Hungary, using and in a wider number of farmers and area, this so-called precision solution of agriculture can help us to reduce the pesticides in our areas. So just summarize these pesticides questions, and maybe you have to know that I have a data that in the last time Hungary has reduced the use and risk of chemical plant production products, for example, by 16% by 2018 and by 25% by 2019 compared to its own average. And we are ready to continue it. It's a sustainable way. Organic farming, for example, just an example from the farm to fork goals. Maybe you have to know that in the last 5 years, we could double the organic farm areas cultivated by some organic farming way and method. We put in forints approximately 100 billion forints to help farmers to change their cultivation method and change their farming into bio production. And we are in our goals to double again in the last 5 years the territory. But on the other side, of course, it means that we have to put a huge volume of money into help farmers to do it. So just make profitability in organic farming. It's very important. And the other side, we should include some processing and retail and develop on the demand side, because it's not enough just produce, but other side, I'm sure, and my economical experience is that without the market, we can't able to achieve this kind of targets. For example, some very interesting, when we are talking about next topic, the so-called AMR issues. So how we can reduce the antimicrobials and promoting their prudent use, which is also a priority, of course, for us and for Hungary. And we see on this side as other topics when we are talking environmental sustainability, that adequate support should be ensured for the member states and, of course, for the farmers who use this kind of materials as well. So, for example, on this field, as pesticides as well, the question is that how work the assistance besides trainings and any other kind of guidance. It's very crucial point of reducing, for example, this EMR as well. So, and the question is that how we can get financial background, financial resources to give money and give help with this services to achieve this, for example, EMR targets. So I have to underline that when we see this kind of strategies from agricultural side, of course, the thresholds which are in these strategies, and see these thresholds from the Hungarian side in their current form, sometimes honestly seems a little bit impossible, and I think that imposes this proportionate burden sometimes not just on the member state side, but the whole agriculture and agri-food sector side as well. So that's why always say and always do using the principle that we have to find a healthy and right balance between the environmental and economical aspects. So that's in our view and in our approach the way that integrated the farmers, the entrepreneurs to achieve the environmental sustainability thresholds and goals. It's a crucial part of the success. That's very important statement for us. And of course, that's a question that how we can implement into all thresholds and all principle of these strategies. Well, the European Commission think that when we are planning the new Common Agriculture Policy from 2023, and we prepare the so-called strategic plans, because all member states have to prepare a strategic plan which cover all kind of supports to the agriculture and the rural issues from this European fund. And it was a debate, honestly, in the preparing session of the final decision, the final political agreements in this preparing session, because these thresholds, these targets are not in a legal document. It's a proposal made by the European Union, and the timing of this threshold and the timing of the Common Agricultural Policy's strategic plans, it's different. That means that without any legal background, our side was very crucial that just legally clear and legally adapted thresholds can be part of the national strategic plans, and the Commission requires just the legally adopted thresholds. But of course, we see that in the negotiation in the next months, in the member states' strategic plans, will be closely linking with this Green Deal and Farm to Fork goals. The question is that just the way, and now we don't know exactly that which measures planned or side, and which will be the concrete tool and the concrete proposal made by the Commission, that how we implement these targets. That's why so very important. You have to know that other side we are very when we are planning for the next agricultural financing period, we spend, as in the earlier period, 40% of our CEP financing resources on different kinds of measures which are closely linked to climate change and environmental ambitions. So one of my main messages is that the common agriculture policy is financing green to achieve green ambitions in a very strong way, and in the future will be make this CEP will repeat it in a stronger way. So our side, from CEP side, from the agriculture policy side, we will support our farmers or entrepreneurs to make more sustainable practices in their farming in their farming activities. So that was my sorry it was not too short, but I just would like to show you that lots of targets, very strong, ambitious, and we are in work that how we can implement it, but always try to find a balanced situation between different types of sustainabilities. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Secretary of State, Dr. Zsolt Feldman. We will be happy to enter with you afterwards in the discussion, in the panel discussion. I would first like to hand over now to Anja Klatt. Anja, floor is yours to share your perspective.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity to share here also our position on sustainable agriculture. As Thomas indicated already, I'm working in the political area together with my colleagues who are located in Brussels. We are looking at policy development on European level, and also, of course, then on the consequences that have on future farming in the various European countries. So from our perspective, we think that agriculture is all about finding the right balance. And that is, as you see, the title from my presentation, and what I mean and what I would like to express with that, that it is not about right or wrong, it's not about chemicals or organic, it's more about finding the right balance between good productivity and protection of the environment. As Mr. Feldman already indicated, and we share that completely, the European Green Deal with this is a very ambitious initiative, a very ambitious strategy. And for the agriculture sector, the Farm to Fork strategy is probably the most relevant document In addition to that, there's also the biodiversity strategy and also the EU chemical strategy for sustainability, which is for us as a chemical company, of course, also very relevant, but here it is not yet really clear in which direction this will go and what kind of impact that will have. So therefore, I will also like to focus, as Mr. Feldman did, on the farm to fork strategy. Here, the farm to fork strategy, just to remind you, is a very holistic approach which we support. So in the end, it's not only about production, it's not only about providing healthy and affordable food, it's also about tackling climate change, it's about protecting the environment, and that is very important, it's also about a fair economic return for the farmers and other players in the food chain. And explicitly mentioned in the farm to fork strategy, and Mr. Feldman pointed to that already, is this increase in organic farming that is foreseen. Here again, the pesticide reduction targets. In the first one, pesticide reduction in use and risk by 50%. That is something where we as industry have contributed already in the past by providing better, more environmental friendly plant protection products, because this is measured not only on volume, it's measured in a combination of volume and risk. And therefore, with the industry providing more friendly, environmentally friendly plant protection products, this indicator goes down already in various countries. And as Mr. Feldman said, it also went down already in Hungary by 25% from 2011 to 2013 to 2019. So that is something that is already in progress. Then Mr. Feldman also mentions this 25% land to be under organic production models. That is when you look at European level, we have currently less than 10% organic, and we believe that this should be driven by the market. And this is a very political target, and we see that very critical, because if you interfere with political targets, that will have, if you would increase now to a level of 25%, that definitely will have then also price effects. Prices will go down for organic production, and that will then lead to less profitability for the farmers. Then 10% of farmland to be set aside for non-productive measures. It's something that makes sense to have hedges, to have trees, to have buffer strips next to the rivers, but of course that is taken out of the production area from the farmers, and there have to be some incentives to compensate that. The European Union is not only looking at Europe, they also look at other parts of the world, and they really try to export their trade, they export their ambitious targets to other parts of the world. The farm to fork strategy so far is only a strategy. It's a non-legislative text, so that is not mandatory. But currently, as Mr. Feldman mentioned already, the Common Agricultural Policy is, of course, the key instrument, but also we see the Sustainable Use Directive of pesticides as an important instrument to implement these targets. So our position concerning the farm to fork strategy in a nutshell is we support the overall objective to come to a more sustainable and resilient agriculture food system in Europe. We believe, however, that it will be really necessary to measure progress using objective criteria and not using political criteria like, for example, the pesticide reduction targets. And therefore, we call on the European Commission and also on the member states to establish and develop complementary indicators to come to a more objective evaluation. And what I mean with that is, so it would make sense to have indicators that measure the productivity and that combine the productivity, the land use efficiency, that look really at the whole farming system instead of just looking at the pesticide reduction targets without looking at the economics for the farmers and the productivity. So therefore, what we as industry have always called for is to have a holistic impact assessment that is not only looking at the farm to fork strategy, but also at the other EU relevant strategies. And there have been some impact assessment in the last couple of months, mainly looking at the farm to fork targets. And here it was already clear that I think is a very good alignment in the assessment that have been done, that in the end there will be a productivity loss of 10 to 15, 20% for specific crops, and there will be a price increase, and therefore the economics for the farmers will go down. And I want to show you some examples how we as BASF are trying to find the right balance and are trying to support the ambition of more sustainable agriculture. And I would like to start with a project which is called hybrid wheat. So that is something where we target the challenge of climate change. Wheat, as you all know, is a backbone for a very stable diet. And despite the global or European importance of wheat, innovation has fallen behind. And that is because the wheat genome is very complex, and therefore breeding has been very difficult. And we have now managed to develop these called hybrid wheats. It's a special breeding form that has been developed already for other crops like corn. And this will result then in more resilient plants, tackling climate change and also looking at other environmental aspects. So that will lead to a significant yield increase and will lead then also to enhanced profitability for the farmer. The second example that I would like to talk about is our smart sprayer. That is a development that we are doing together with Bosch. And here Bosch is developing these high-tech cameras and sensors, and BASF is contributing by having the agronomic knowledge and having the possibility to decide what to spray and when to spray. So what it is all about. So usually when a tractor goes over a field and the farmer wants to get the weeds out of the field, the whole field is sprayed very equally. And what we have now developed together with Bosch is a targeted system where a camera, when the tractor driver goes over the field, the cameras detect where a weed is. They even identify what kind of weed is, and then within milliseconds, it is based on algorithms, it is decided which plant protection product has to be used, and then only a spot application will be done. So instead of spraying the whole field, only a very targeted application of herbicide will be done. And that is something that will definitely then also contribute to the farm to fork targets. And we have our first pilots also in Hungary next year, and we are looking forward to bring that to the market. Then last example that I would like to talk about is what we call a closed transfer system. So in the end is protection for the farmer. So when the farmer is filling the sprayer, this new system allows the farmer to do that without having any contact with the plant protection product. So it's an additional safety measure for the farmer that the contact is avoided. So with these three examples, I try to show you how we in BASF try to contribute in practice to the farm to fork targets, and trying to find the balance between the economics for the farmer, the productivity, and also protecting the environment. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Anja. Great. And I would ask Dr. Feldman to put his camera on again and the microphone. Again, the cordial invitation to all the group to put any questions you might have into the chat, and we'll pick them up from there. If I may start with a question to you, Dr. Feldman, you were talking a lot about balancing, and I think this is really, Anja was also talking about the balancing, about these endeavors. I think this is really important, and you triggered me with one of your sentences. You said you will support, for example, biological farming initiatives. And my question would be, for bioproducts, you need a certain purchasing power. Now, how can that work in the long term? Or are you expecting the purchasing power to be there in, let's say, after the transition period in 10, 15 years? Given the narrative of currently of Viktor Orban and the Hungarian government that the prices for the end consumer for whatever is being done in the Green Deal shall not rise, because that might bring certain groups of the population to their limits. How would you see that?
Well, when we are talking about bioproducts, well, as I mentioned, for example, now 3% of the Hungarian land, earlier 5 years ago was 3% of the Hungarian cultivated area using by farmers in bioproduction. Mm-hmm. When I mentioned that we doubled the proportion, was that from 3 we has achieved the 6%. That means that we have 5 million hectares land, and approximately somewhere 300,000 hectares used for bioproduction. Mm-hmm. Well, but lots of this area grassland, for example, so less arable and less fruit and vegetable production area. And we are always see that it's a Hungarian phenomenon that the produced raw materials, crops, for example, go to somewhere in Western Europe and come back in some processed way. So it's and with this market options were the background this results what I mentioned. Mm-hmm. So normally the healthy way to grow towards these bioproducts producing areas, if we can achieve a higher processed level. Mm-hmm. It's because, yes, you're right that in my personal view that the purchasing power, the consumers' habits, maybe not the same in Austria and Germany and in Hungary. So, for example, what I would like to say that we can increase or ecological farmed areas if we can increase the export of these products. That's all. The main markets are somewhere else in Europe, and just in a parallel way have we chance to double against the area, but it's honestly it's not the 25% as the European goal, But if we can achieve a 13% in the next 5 years, it will be great. But as I mentioned, it can work just with a very extremely strong market building and processing background.
Thank you very much. Very, very balanced answer also, and two concrete measures here. So increasing, what I understand, increasing the domestic downstream use of the primary products, of the primary farm products, and on the other hand, the export sector. This brings me to the next question, which I would, because it's directly connected, I would also give to you, Dr. Feldman. We experience in the Green Deal, or I experience in all my Green Deal sessions, which I'm running, a trend that there is sort of the downstream users in whatever industry you look like. They start to look at the upstream producers of the basic raw materials, be it basic agricultural raw materials or basic chemicals or basic steel or concrete or cement. And the downstream producers are simply raising the question now, so you upstream producers, you please provide your products carbon neutral and free of any toxic materials. Would it not be more intelligent as the whole value chain to link us together and to say, okay, what can we do together to really become carbon neutral and sustainable in a way? Do you have a position on that regarding the agriculture? Because also in the agriculture, as you mentioned, there are a lot of downstream users, food producers, before it goes to the end consumer.
Well, honestly, I'm sure that in Hungary, in the next decade, it will be crucial that producers who produce raw materials and the higher level of the food chains who are interested in this making added value, this kind of how we can prove the sustainable production, how we can not just do it but make a document background will be crucial. I see that in lots of companies who are integrated into bigger value chains, and they, for example, some global food player of a good food industry, for example, for companies whose consumers requirement to prove that your food comes from sustainable resources. So I'm sure that a wider scope needs in Hungary's agriculture to make the lines in this vertical integrations and make this background systems which can give based on facts documents to underline and show that your production comes from a sustainable way. So I think that in the next decade, it not just in countries in the western part of Europe, but in our countries will be very integrated part of the production. So not just be sustainable in your practice, but be sustainable in your documents as well. So it will be crucial, and it's a question that partners, commercial partners, processors, all stakeholders, how they can build up this line. We, for example, I know that in the next CAP period, we will in our plan that we should help our entrepreneurs and companies and farmers to using this kind of, I don't know the English term, but this quality ensuring systems and maintain and buy it and maintain it, because we see that in a higher level of integration and value chain, it will be needed. So what I would like to say that we have to help our farmers in this way as well. It's not too comfortable, of course, on the other side, because we are very, very document-based sector compared with other economical sector. For example, the last thing that now when 100,000 farmers when apply for support, area-based support, these applications made by the National Agricultural Chamber. That means that more than half of our farmers need help in paperwork to make documents to get the money from the EU. That means that it's how difficulties we have, maybe what I mentioned in the next 10 years, have them make more documents, more aspects of their production, more data from their production. So it's not as easy as from some offices it can see. But of course, in last sentence, that's why, for example, on the other side, I mentioned that we made a new initiative, get direct money for farmers to transfer their productions method into a precision-based way, because get machines, get IT systems, so they can buy it with our support, and maybe that means that more and more farmers get a chance that modern systems they have, IT systems and data systems they have to using these practices. Sorry, the long answer.
Super. Thank you very much. That shouts for digitalization. I would read that for documentation and making it easy for the farmers in a kind of really easy way to document what they have sprayed, how much they have sprayed, what they have fertilized, how much, where, on which land, and so on. Anja, from your perspective, and I'm happy also afterwards to listen to Mr. Berkish and to Ludvig about best practice examples. But Anja, from your perspective, in digitalization, what is currently there on the market to help the farmers?
Yeah, I think there will be a lot of developments in the future, and the starting points have been made. So what is available are what they call field managers, and we as BASF have also a Xavio field manager. So that are tools that can also be used by small farmers. It's more or less a handy, a mobile app that you can use, where you put in your parameters, where you can use GPS data, and then can get advice on how to best document also your farming operation. And I think that is something that we have also started on European level as industry, together with the Farmer Association, by the way, to go for a digital label. So far you have a label for the plant protection product that is just on the container. And what we would like to have is a digital label that is then automatically transferred to the tractor, and then automatically the on-field operations are documented. And that is exactly what Mr. Feldman said. That is, currently it's such a burden for the farmer to do all that documentation and to prove that he has done and used the plant protection products in the right way. And I really think that with this digitalization in documentation and reporting, we will make a really big progress. The other big area in digitalization is forecasting. So looking at pest pressure and better identify, giving the farmer's possibility to identify the disease that is coming and pest pressure. So that is forecasting, documenting, and these precision technologies, these smart spraying technologies. I would say these are the big three areas in digitalization.
In forecasting, Anja, is there also something coming up from the industry in forecasting which crop to plant where best, which soil has proven to be good for certain crops, or?
Yeah, of course, that will be also, but here still what is needed is that you have a soil sample and make an analysis. So that is not so easy. It's not that easy that you can make a picture of the soil and then you know what is in and what is what best to plant. So you still need to make that chemical analysis.
Sure. There is one question from Gabor Berkesh in the chat to you, Anja. What percentage of current wheat area in EU is sown with hybrid wheat, and what is your estimation for 2030? How much yield increase are we talking more exactly?
Yeah, so far it's 0. So market introduction will be in the mid of the decade, and we are not the only company that is developing hybrid wheat. Also other companies are doing that, and it's a little bit too early to say what exactly the yield increase will be. It really depends. It's also a kind of insurance for the farmer. So if there are dry conditions, if there are pests, that it's also it's a productivity increase, but it's also insurance that the farmer will have no yield loss. It's really also about resilience for the farmer.
Super. Thank you very much. Any further questions to? Else I could go on with Dr. Feldman and Anja for an hour more, but any more questions out of the auditorium? No, if this is not the case, then one question maybe to you, Dr. Feldman, regarding subsidies. You have mentioned it. It's a tedious process currently for the farmers. They are doing it via the Crop Protection Association or the Farmers Association, via the different associations. A general question more to the subsidies. What kind of subsidies are foreseen for more sustainable solutions like pheromones or instead of insecticide treatment or the like? Is there anything planned more specifically? So going a little bit in between the biological farming and the classical farming.
Well, there is a new element that we are talking about. The new CAP period from 2023. That's the starting point for all new elements in the subsidy system. Well, maybe you know that the first two pillars we have in the common agriculture policy. The first pillar from the mainly in area-based supports, and the second one is rural development issues, but full with investments and so on and so on. Okay, in the first pillar, in the area-based subsidies, we will launch a new initiative. It's obligatory on one side for us. That's the so-called eco scheme. That means that it's a new structure we have in the future when we are talking about the green architecture of the CAP. That means that, for example, in Hungary, we prepare a new green architecture with 5 main elements, and the new one is the two new ones in this, because maybe you know that to achieve the normal area-based support, you need a higher environmental conditionality as a farmer. So the higher the recent greening measure will add into the normal area-based support. And above this average conditionality, we prepare a new so-called eco-scheme measure, and it will be voluntary for farmers, but it's a little bit similar to the agri-environmental support system, but it's based on annual support application, and you in this measure we will finance and we will support different agricultural practices from farmer sides, which are have achieved the sustainabilities, mainly in soil, for different kind of soil protection measures, for example. So if you, for example, if you use no-till cultivation way, it's one of the preferred form of agricultural production. And on the other side, which is in my mind, that different parcel sizes, so smaller. If you using smaller parcel size, it's supported practices from farmer side, or lots of soil conditioners, using lots of soil conditioners, etc., etc. So there are some practices, and it depends on your sizes, but as a farm sizes. But if you choose in the future from a menu, it was examples from this menu what I mentioned, you are part the eco-scheme measures, and you get extra money above the normal area-based payment. So that's one aspect what I would like to, as an example, say for you, that it's a totally new something, and that's why in the first 2 years it's a learning period, so not financial consequences. And it was very important results of the CAP negotiation that in a learning period it's not acceptable strict financial restriction if something goes wrong, and but you plan as your best, but it's a question. And we have to, and one more aspect, that now from the next years, to the next beginning of the next year, we launch a renew agri-environmental support measure for farmers, and we have to. So that's this is the 2 main elements in our support system, which help to using this kind of environmental sustainable practices in our farmers' size. That's, for example, 2 examples.
Very good example. Thank you very much. And I like this pilot approach which you are taking. Personally, very much. Pilot phase 2 years, and then see what's happening, and then adapt the systems if necessary. For time reasons, thank you very much. I would now go to the 2 best practice examples, and Dr. Feldman, if you have the time, we would highly welcome you to listen and to continue to discuss. If not, you are of course excused, but thanks a lot for sharing your insights with us. And I hand over now to, thank you also to you, Anja, and I would hand over now to Orsolya Ludvig. Orsolya, Mr. Feldman, you wanted to...
I unfortunately thank the chance to take part in your meeting, but I have to. I'm in a rush to the next not online meeting. So have a good time in the next half hour, and I hope that very good practical examples will be shown by colleagues. Thank you very much, and have a good time.
Very much appreciated. Thank you, Mr. Feldman.
Bye. Bye.
Bye. Bye. Orsolya, floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's a shame Mr. Feldman couldn't stay. He was there at our event, the Hop Festival, just a couple of weeks ago. But well, at least, I mean, he knows our project. Wouldn't have been any novelty for him. So let me share my screen with you. Oh, just a second.
We love also to read your emails, Orsolya.
Sorry?
We love also to read your emails.
I'm not sure what happened here, but feel free. I mean, you could see that we're good friends.
We see only you now, not your presentation.
Okay, I don't know what happened, but you can. Okay, now you see
it's
my
coming.
Excel. How brilliant!
Now I see you, Excel.
Now you do.
Now is the presentation. Wonderful.
Yes, but it does. I'm not sure what's going on here. Okay, now it will work. Can you see it now?
Yes, it's perfect. Thank you.
Perfect.
Okay, thank you very much. So after these technical issues and a few of my emails, here it is. I would like to give you a short overview of a very dear project of ours, namely bringing back hop cultivation to Hungary, which used to be a traditional crop in the country previously. It was really a historic crop in the past few hundreds of years. Beer was produced only with local ingredients in the country, not just by us, by all brewers basically. And hop, this very important ingredient to the beer, which gives the flavor basically to the drink, mainly disappeared in the 1980s. Well, and here we are, HEINEKEN Hungary, which is the owner of Soproni Sörgyárak, Soproni Brewery in the country, has written on its flag to bring local sourcing as part of sustainability even more into the core of our strategy than it was before. So this is basically the reason that, or the answer to this question: why does a global beer company choose to revive growing this tiny ingredient crop in a tiny country like Hungary? Soproni Sörgyárak or HEINEKEN globally really focuses on sustainability in many areas. You might have heard of the strategy Evergreen or our initiative Brewing a Better World. Well, these all include many sustainability issues, pledges, and in between that, you might have heard of the totally zero emission pledge of HEINEKEN, reaching it within the company by 2030 and within the whole value chain by 2040. Local sourcing is definitely an important part in it, not just because of transportation, but through many other areas of our business too. And we use a lot of local ingredients already, like barley, for example, or the fruits to some flavored beers. But as just mentioned in my first sentences, hop has disappeared from the country by 1980s. So because we said we want to brew the Soproni beers only with Hungarian raw materials or local raw materials, we had to focus on finding these ingredients in the country. And as we couldn't find hop, basically that started the project. Together with the Ministry of Agriculture and the Hungarian Interchurch Aid, we introduced a project which not only aims to revive the hop cultivation, but it's also a very important project to help communities in some less rich areas of the country. So 2018, the decision has been made to revive hop production or hop cultivation. And by 2020, we could harvest for the first time in Kastélyosdombo, which is a small village really in the southern part of Hungary, by the border really. So it's very distant, very poor opportunities there for people, mainly agriculture obviously, but even that used to be very difficult for the people, and youngsters went away. Now, at least through this project and through a few others by the Interchurch Aid, there are new jobs for families, and this hop cultivating project now gives a daily routine, a daily program, daily income as well for several families. And this August, end of August, we celebrated the second harvest. Now the first 1 hectare that has been planted initially, we could harvest for the second time, as mentioned, but we also celebrated the enlargement of the land, which is now 13 hectares, so it's really growing. And with these 2 years of harvested hops, we will now start brewing premium beer. As you can read also on the slide, we will use the Hungarian hops for the local premium lager, Soproni 1895. Hope you all know the brand, hope you all tasted it. Around December, the Hungarian hops will be in the bottles, in the cans. So I hope you will all be inspired to try it. You can try it now as well. It's very good, but as of December, it will be then fully Hungarian, and I really hope you will like it. We will continue with the project. Brought you some numbers as well, how much we harvested, what is available, what subsidies were installed in this project, and how the project, as mentioned, from 1 now to 13 hectares altogether. So thank you very much for your attention. I hope it is inspiring that such a large company can go really local, thinking global, but acting local. And I hope many more projects of this kind will be added, not just with our company, but maybe with others as well. And I really encourage you to go out and taste the fully Hungarian beer that is soon available. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Orsolya. Happy to taste the new hops in the Hungarian beer soon. That's great. And I hand over right away to Gábor Berkes now. Floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Now I unmuted myself, so hopefully you can hear me as well. Good. Yes, I can confirm the 1895 is one of the best beers that are being locally produced in Hungary right now. So I'm a big consumer myself. So keep on producing that. Okay. I hope you can. Can you see my presentation?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, thank you. So I'm Gábor Berkes, a regional grains merchandising manager. So sustainability, and this is not my specialty. So but allow me to present what I've been given to by our sustainable experts. So a bit of an outlook on Cargill, and then we'll get to the operational example as well. So at Cargill, we aim to be the most trusted partner with the most sustainable supply chains for our customers. This is our 2030 goal, and those are the numbers that you see. We are there in 70 countries trying to do the same thing. Yeah, so this is what we do. We provide insights to our partners. We transform raw materials into finished goods, and then we move products around the world. Being, really sustainability is in our core focus for all of these. And then we come to agriculture, which is our bread and butter. Agriculture is how we will address climate change. So climate is one of the priorities, then protect our land and water, and sustainably feed a growing population. So this, what I'm talking about, is part of our land and water initiative. But this is how we would like to do it. So these are our main, extracts from our sustainability commitments. So on the climate, we're going to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions by 10% by 2025, and then by 30% per ton of product sold also by 2030. And then we'll become deforestation free by 2030, and then achieve sustainable water management in our operations and all priority watersheds. And then people, we are a very diverse company, promote and respect human rights as outlined in the Universal Declaration. And also, provide training on sustainable agricultural practices and improve access to markets for 10 million farmers by 2030. This is, mainly, South Africa, Asia, Africa. These are the main playgrounds for that. We will deliver on our focus areas through the following enablers: drive innovation. You will see this is also a startup that we're starting working with in the EU. Empower farmers and workers and build resilience in our cultures. Yeah. So land and water. This is one of our focus areas. So I already mentioned that we'd like to be deforestation free and achieve sustainable water management. And then the regenerative agriculture piece. Actually, this goal is about North America alone. That partners with farmers, partners and customers to adopt and implement soil health and other regenerative agriculture practices on 10 million acres in North America. But the goals are the same in Europe as well, that are listed on the left-hand side. This is maximizing profits and productivity while reducing environmental impact. So we know that that farmers, like everybody else, are living on the wealth that they provide for themselves. So we as Mr. Feldman said as well, that we need to take the economical impact, the profits also, and then while reducing the environmental impact, we should compensate that, or we should find ways of compensating that possible profit loss with something else. Yeah, so supporting land health practices, adoption of soil health best practices, I will talk about that later, and helping to catalyze and advance innovation in this space, and advancing regenerative agriculture practices that build on Cargill's sustainability commitments. And how we do that in Europe, we started last year with a startup called Soil Capital. It's a startup founded by a Belgian farmer, so a farmer who knows what is important and takes very seriously the future of the future generations. And then he put together this model that we very much like. The model is actually includes or starts with the farm status evaluation of what the farm's current GHG emission is and what is the exact carbon footprint of that farm. And then based on best practices of this farmer and all these practices gathered from available scientific resources or sources, there is a plan put together on the GHG reduction based on main regenerative agricultural practices, right? Reduced fertilizer usage, cover crops, reduced tillage, and so on and so forth. And then this is measured by the app or this system that they put together, and and where Cargill steps in is that there is a certificate issued by this company to the farm if the GHG reduction targets are met, and then Cargill has committed to buy all the certificates from the participating farmers, enabling them to capitalize from the growing carbon markets. So I think you've read in the news, not only Cargill but other companies are setting up or have set up carbon trading units where all these certificates are being moved from the farm side to the end user side of these, because all companies have realized that how carbon neutrality, how important it is to fight climate change. So they are ready to invest some of their profits to buy these carbon certificates and present them to the authorities. Yeah, so this is what we started in Belgium and France. We are now at about 150 farms. The program, after being trialed there, it will be probably moved to the further parts of the EU, including Hungary, or potentially Hungary as well. Yeah, and then this is what Cargill is all about, to be the leader in nourishing the world in safe, responsible, and sustainable way. Well, what I didn't put here in this presentation is that sustainability as such is not new to Hungarian farmers. I think we were the ones starting with ISCC about 10 years ago. I think we have 400 farmers in that scheme. Also ISCC Plus or ISCC EU. It doesn't really matter. The main thing is that farmers are ready to invest, and I think they are aware of what they are supposed to do to take their part in saving our climate and making our future better. Yeah, so this is, and then we are also having a pilot project in Hungary, which I cannot disclose now, on carbon savings, and it's a different app, it's a different source, but I think this will be also the part of our future steps in the country.
Thank you very much, Gabor. Very clear and straightforward presentation. And I would give now the floor to the audience. So we had first of all Orsolya, who was presenting us. Maybe Orsolya and Gabor, leave your cameras on. Yes, very good. Thank you very much. So Orsolya was telling us about regionalizing the supply chain in essence, which is avoiding transportation. And Gabor was talking about an interesting way of supporting the farmers with trading, as far as I understood it, the carbon dioxide certificates for them if they comply and align with certain criteria. Very interesting. As long as there, I see one question from Anja. Anja, I come back to you in a second. I would have my first question to you, Gabor. You are you said yourself, you're not a sustainability expert, but you are the regional grains merchandising manager. So you are sitting in between the farmer and the downstream users. What I was mentioning also before, in the talk with Mr. Feldman and with Anja. How would you see that integrating the efforts of the whole value chain effort? Which importance do you consider that? Which requests are you getting from your downstream?
So
Yeah, and okay. How do you transmit that?
When we just give you an example, the reason why I mentioned that it's not new to Hungarian farmers, because when we started ISCC, I think we started with the first year we managed to buy 5,000 tons of corn ISCC certified. Yeah. Now this year it's over 500,000, but you cannot really sell. I mean, to the big Hungarian end users. 2/3 of your products have to be ISCC certified. What we see from Western Europe is even a more, so I would call these the first level sustainability systems, and then now we will enter into a second phase, which we have to go deeper and not just talking NUTS 1 or NUTS 2 regions, but we need to go on a farm level. And this is what Mr. Feldman said, that I think it's digitalization is really the way of securing us the data that we can show that, okay, this farmer has saved this and this amount of GHG or carbon, and then we can say that, okay, Hungary is I don't know, improve 10% on that, 20%, and then we can set clear goals on that. And this is what is being more and more required by big users as Heineken, for example, you know, Pepsi, Unilever, these Mars, these guys who really have stepped up, and then they raised the level of sustainability, and even going deeper into carbon savings. So this is what we see, that there's been a growing need, and we haven't stopped here. And this is what I think it's a learning curve also for the farmers and for us as well, how to comply with all these regulations and all these documentations, which I can confirm that it is pretty hard. But actually, the big trading houses like Cargill, we have taken this on our shoulders. So we do the certification in the name of the farmer. So we are the first gathering point. We give them all the documentation. They just need to sign and comply with it. And we prepare them for the audits. We follow them all the way, monitor them. So I think, but the need is there, and it's clear that we will not stop here, and probably we need to reach 100% sometime of the volumes that we trade or deal with to be 100%, you know, sustainably certified.
Thank you very much, Gabor. Anja, your question, how do you measure greenhouse gas reduction in the field, was meant for Gabor or for both?
Mainly for Gabor.
Mainly for Gabor.
Yeah. Okay. So you need to have a benchmark year or some kind of a benchmark activity that, okay, for example, so in 2008 I used, I don't know, 450 kilos of nitrogen-based fertilizer. Then in 2020 I used, I don't know, 350 kilos. So there's a saving on that. There's a saving on for fuel consumption of the tractors, but also if the bigger tractor you use, probably it's a negative point, because then you suppress the soil, and then you need to have more energy to get it looser for the next crop and stuff like that. So there's a clear criteria book or booklet, if it differs for different schemes, but there's clear guidelines that you need to that you can follow, and then you can put together a nice calculation. In Ukraine, we are buying already oilseeds on a farm-based savings, GSG savings system. So it's and you can sell it with a quite nice premium to West Europe. So I think this is where also there's not only administration, but also there's some you know, profit possibility for the farmers as well.
Thank you very much, Gabor. I would also have one question to you, Orsolya. Looking at your local sourcing, is there an economic disadvantage, or is that balanced? Did you just need to encourage kind of the local hops growing again, and the farmers are as competitive as you would have it from other sources, the earlier imports?
It was a very important part of the project to also be sustainable from the economical part. I mean, sustainability really needs to be, you know, balanced. The environmental, the social, and the economical issues as just as important. So with this project, we actually, I think, raised or reached all three aims of ours, to be socially responsible, helping a very disadvantaged area, many families, and also the environmental factor that we have now the possibility soon. I mean, today it's only the Soproni 1895, but soon it could be all the Soproni beers once the field grows large enough. So the environmental impact will be also really measurable, and economically, obviously, we are a for-profit organization, so we need to be conscious of our economical success as well. But it is just as good as if we'd buy it anywhere else.
Mm-hmm. Super. Thank you very much. Are there any questions from the auditorium? Very clear and concise lectures from Gabor and Orsolya. I see currently nothing in the presentation, so I would like to thank you, Orsolya, and you, Gabor, very much. The people have your contacts and can address you in case of further needs. I would at this point in time also thank very much, as I most of the times forget to thank especially Zsofia Juhász and Theodora Christoph for pulling everything together. Great deal done. Again, I'm only the entertainer here and try to moderate. But thanks a lot. Thanks also to you, Anja, again for your highly qualified presentation, and thanks to the auditorium for listening to us today. And the next one will be as interesting in AmCham Green Deal sessions as today's. It will all be around the financing part of the EU Green Deal, and we will have very qualified speakers there as well. Zsofia helped me, one lady from PricewaterhouseCoopers, I think, and yes, the rest you know better.
Yes, Barbara Konz from PwC and Mr. Gábor Gyula from the National Bank of Hungary to talk about sustainable financing on the 28th of October. And I will share the link in the chat in a minute.
Wonderful. So thanks again to all of you. And I wish you well, Budapest is not brilliant weather today, but we are moving into autumn. I nevertheless wish you a very brilliant day further on and a successful week. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.